Alright everybody, welcome back. February 19th, 2018, 10:57 a.m. That is Eastern Standard Time from where I'm posting. Alright, so this may or may not be my last post on Cyclone Gita, depending on what this thing actually does to New Zealand, but this is probably going to be the last warning that I should have to give to the people in New Zealand. Now, I'm still seeing in comments that there's some people that don't even know about this yet. And that's just very unfortunate at this point because we've been talking about this storm for well over a week now as it went through Tonga and South Fiji and then skimmed past New Caledonia. And now it is beelining right for, it seems to be the northwest area of the South Island. So we're talking areas of Wellington, Nelson, Buller, Marlborough, and Westland. Now, particularly Wellington is expected to get 122 millimeters of rain from this within a 24-hour period. That's about 4 inches, so that's a significant amount. And then as the storm continues, we're talking Nelson, Buller, and Marlborough, and Westland. That includes Westland as well, but around 200 millimeters of rain. That's nearly 8 inches of rain. So you could tell once this thing gets to the coast, I'm going to move forward in time. New Zealand is 18 hours ahead of the northeast of the U.S. So landfall will be between 12 and 15 hours from now, which will be around, it seems to me, some of the websites are getting it confused. Some are saying 1 a.m. Tuesday, Wellington will start getting the rain, but it won't be until 5 to 8 a.m. or p.m. rather, sorry, 5 to 8 p.m. where we have like a landfall. So the rain will start first in areas of Wellington. Like I said, the 122 millimeters to 4 inches of rain within 24 hours. And then as the storm makes landfall between 5 and 8 p.m. on the 21st, which is Wednesday because they're 18 hours ahead, that will be the significant time of the storm where they believe that the northwest area of the South Island will get the brunt of the storm. Now you need to understand something here, guys. As I move forward in time, again, this is my local time that is down in this area, so don't pay attention to this if you're from New Zealand. This is going to be around landfall between 12 and 15 hours, and then 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. is why it's shown down here. Now you need to understand something with the cyclones, because they are in a clockwise motion. Most of the flooding and water damage is going to be in these areas of New Zealand, maybe even this part of the North Island, because it brings the water out. There may be even some areas of New Zealand that lose water from the beaches because it's being pulled out in one direction and then thrown into the other direction. So we could have severe flooding in the north part of this North Island here. I have Google Earth pulled up to look at more specific areas, but you need to focus on that because that makes a big difference. Some areas will have water pulled from their coast, and then other areas are going to get the flooding. And then as we move forward into the 20th, let me back up to as far back in the 20th as I can go, which is here. This is when you're going to start seeing the major rainfall, where I was talking about those 8 inches of rain near Nelson, Buller, Marlborough, and Westland. So this is basically the final warning, guys. New Zealand needs to prepare for this storm. It's going to hit quick. We're talking 80 miles an hour at landfall. Be careful because there's some videos out there. You need to look at this setting here. We are 10 meters off the ground. Most people don't live very high up in mountains and stuff like that, especially in New Zealand. Now, if you switch this to 500 meters, then yes, you get some crazy wind speeds where we're talking 100 miles an hour, but not many people live at 1,500 feet. So you can't go by this reading here. We're not going to get 100-mile-an-hour winds from this storm. We're talking 70 to 80, which is still very significant. I'm not trying to downplay that in any way, but you need this setting to be at 10 meters. This is 30 feet off the ground. So it may be a little weaker than this even, but even buildings that are 3 stories tall, that's 30 feet, 10 meters. There you go. So you need to really pay attention to these settings here when you're looking at these charts. It's very important because the higher up you go, let's say 1,500 meters, look at this storm. We're talking 100-mile-an-hour winds, but no one lives that high up. So you need to remember that. 10 meters off the ground is what you always want to look at to get a real reading of what this storm is going to bring. You can see the 70s to the 80s being pulled out I'm not saying that that means it won't be 70 and 80 in this area. I'm just trying to give everyone that is in the path of this storm a fair warning. Now, the warnings, the severe weather watches from Taranaki, I believe it's pronounced, to Greymouth as of right now, and that is considered central New Zealand, which is basically the middle of the two North and South Islands, right through the gap. And in websites like, let's see here, there we go, Tropical Tidbits, you can actually see the storm wants to go right through this gap here. So even the coastlines in between the two islands are at severe risk for this. I'll move forward on this real quick and we will be done with this video. You can see, guys, this is not something that is going to change. This thing is going to go right through New Zealand. It's going to be strong. It's going to be heavy. Lots of rain. Again, the severe weather warnings have been put out for this area, so there's nothing more I can do but tell you guys to be prepared. And those of you that don't know about it, just spread the word. Just tell people if you have to. You don't have to share the video. If you don't want to, just let people in New Zealand know that they have a cyclone heading their way. Now, it might be losing some of its cyclone properties, but nonetheless, we're talking 70 to 80 mile an hour winds. So anything that's not chained down, anything on the beach, this, that, it's going to be gone. That's all there is to it. This is certainly something to be preparing for. This is not going to be some little thunderstorm. This is going to be a whole day of crazy weather, and this thing wants to pass right through the center of both islands. So one way or another, the entire area of New Zealand, North and South Islands, will be affected by this storm, more severe than others. Again, you need to look at the fact that we are in a clockwise rotation, so water will be pushed into certain areas and water will be pulled out of other areas, but nonetheless there will be lots of rain. And the current time right now is 5:02 a.m. in New Zealand, so they are just about waking up right now, getting ready for work, whatever have you. But remember, 12 to 15 hours from now, which is around 5 to 8 p.m. on the 21st for Wednesday, their local time, is when this is expected to make landfall. The first effects will be felt Tuesday, 1 a.m., which is basically 1 a.m. Coming up overnight tonight. So be prepared, guys. This might be the last video I make on it. I may do a follow-up to see what kind of damage it did or how the people are doing. But fair warning, be prepared for this. This is not a little thunderstorm. All right, guys, thank you so much. Take care. Bye.